Good afternoon. I'm coming to you from a very special place. Over the past many months, since April, we have been holding all our services outdoors here when it was cold, when it was rainy, when it was humid. And it's been a tremendous blessing. We've had services since Memorial Day a year ago outdoors after the COVID restrictions were lifted. And when we realized that things were opening up a bit, we bought this beautiful tent and we decided to have our services here constantly. And we've been very blessed. Every Shabbos we could get between 75 and 100 people coming outdoors in a safe way, celebrating Shabbos, celebrating Judaism. Now we have to start thinking about the high holidays and what are we going to do for the high holidays? How are we going to make sure that we could celebrate in the most meaningful, spiritual, uplifting way without risking or harming anyone? And I want to tell you what my thoughts are. But before that, I want to turn to this week's Torah portion because everything always connects to the Torah portion. One of the laws in this week's Torah portion is Lo titzgodudu v'lo sasimu karcha beineinechem. God forbids a Jew. In the medieval days, what they did was, when they were in pain, when they were in sorrow, especially when they lost a relative or someone that was loved, they would pull out their hair and make themselves bald spots, or they would rip their skin and gash themselves and give them bleeding injuries that would pull off literally pieces of skin. And the Torah forbids us from doing that. It's a biblical commandment. That's why we also don't make tattoos, etc., not to desecrate our skin, not to desecrate our body, because our body is holy and God gave it to us. But the Talmud says another interpretation. And the interpretation that Talmud says is that lo sisgodudu means lo tasu agudot. Don't make groups and groups, which, as Maimonides explains, means don't fragment the Jewish people. Don't make them into this group. This is observant, this is secular, this is Reformed, this is Orthodox, this is Sephardi, this is Ashkenazi, and suddenly you fragment the community. So comes along the famous Maharal of Prague, one of the great sages who, of course, lived in Prague, and story has it, created the Golem. But the Maharal of Prague was a great Kabbalist. In fact, the whole Tanya is, much of the Tanya is based on him. The Maharal of Prague says, I don't understand. Very often, the commentaries will say different interpretations on the same thing. But never will it be so disjointed, so opposite. How do you get from the simple explanation that los is go to mean not to rip out your hair and to gash your skin and rip out your skin, to the Talmudic explanation, which Maimonides explains to me not to make fragments to that? And the Maharal gives a beautiful answer. And he says that if you look deeper into it, it's really one and the same thing. Because, you see, why is there a prohibition against gashing our skin and pulling out our hair? Because our body is holy. And our body is one organism, one unit. And when we pull off even a piece of hide, of skin, or rip off our hair that's part of it, we're fragmenting our body, the gift that God gave us. But on a spiritual level, the same is true when we fragment the Jewish people. There might be 14 million Jews in the world, and we might have different opinions, but we're one organism, we're one unit, we're one people. And when you separate, then you are doing the same thing as pulling off a piece of your body, because we're one body, we're one unit. You know, it's been a tough 16, 18 months where we've had so much challenges and struggles and been separated. Last year for the high holidays, it was at the height of COVID, and we didn't have a choice. We did something we've never done before. We put up 2 tents at 2 separate places, and we did shifts. And we had 80 people at a shift coming to the services to celebrate together. And then the next 80 came, and the next 80 came. We hired another cantor and another rabbi. But we got through it. We had over 400 people that celebrated Rosh Hashanah at the peak of the pandemic in a safe way. And I remember people would come to me and say, Rabbi, what a success. And I said, let's wait 2 weeks. And thank God 2 weeks passed and no one got COVID at our outdoor services. But what do we do this year? Originally I thought COVID is coming to an end, everything is good, why don't we just go back to the Baker School? It has a beautiful auditorium. It holds 400 people for us. Plus we rent out the cafeteria and we rent out the gym and we have children's programs and we have playgrounds. Everything seems awesome. But about a month ago, I realized that Delta was coming. And I had to think ahead. How do we make our community be safe and healthy, yet together? I don't want a fragmented community. I don't want us coming in shifts. I don't want us going to separate places because we can't pray together. There's a power in numbers. There's a power in a community praying as one, pleading with God to give us health, to give us love, to give us prosperity. When we get up there and we sing Avinu Malkeinu as one, it's very moving, it's very powerful. So we came up with this idea that we're in the middle of implementing. We've been in touch with the town of Brookline that's been very kind to us. And we are renting the peak of the hill above the Transportation Museum in Lars Anderson, which will house for us a 7,000 square foot tent, a huge tent. It's overlooking Brookline, overlooking Boston. It's a serene, quiet place. And we'll put up chairs and we'll adorn it lovely. It's in a beautiful area. And on the side, we'll have place for the children to play and have programs. And we'll be able to pray as one community. It's going to take effort. And there'll be people that have to walk longer. And if some people can't walk that long, we will make a small service for them at the shul. But like this, we will be able to bring our entire community together. Ke'ish echad b'lev echad, like one. We will not be fragmented. We will be one whole organism, a community together that will come to pray to the Almighty as we do every Shabbos, to give us health, to give us blessing, to give us sustenance, to give us all that we need. You know, there's an old story they say about this guy who stopped coming to shul 1 week, 2 weeks, a month. Finally, the rabbi comes to visit him. He hasn't been in shul in a few months. The rabbi comes, and the rabbi sees the guy sitting on his couch by his fireplace. He's relaxing. The rabbi sits down next to him, and suddenly the rabbi sees that the fireplace is lit with coals and it's beautiful. The rabbi goes over to the fireplace. He takes the stick, the shovel. He pushes away one of the coals from the rest and moves it away on the other side of the floor. A few minutes later, that coal that was separated from the fire dies out. The rabbi gets up and he leaves the room. The next week, the guy was back in shul. The message the rabbi was sending him was, you might be enjoying yourself at home. You might be sitting in your beautiful home and having all you need. But when you're not together with your community, with your family, you die out. The light, the fire, the love, the Judaism. So we are hoping that, God willing, as we continue to get these plans in order and undertake this great responsibility, that we will be able to give each and every one of you and us a place and a way to pray in unity as one community, not agudot, not fragmentation, but love and joy and celebration of godliness, of holiness, of community, and of friendship. God bless you. Have a good day.